Welcome to Anything Goes. I'm your
One day we'll stop talking over each other. I say that it's really just me.
I feel like last time we edited it out and stopped, but I feel like this time we should just keep it in.
Just keep it. It's gonna happen a million more times.
But yeah, so I'm your 5-wing 4 host, Madison.
And I am Kaden, your resident 9-wing 1.
Mm-hmm. All right. So to start off our episode, we have some announcements. We do have an email account at anythinggoes@gmail.com. And then we also have a Twitter account, also just at anythinggoes. And so you should 100% send us an email, send us a tweet about the episode, about anything. Later on, we're going to ask you to send us pics of your dogs and like pets. So definitely send that.
Also, check us out. I mean, I guess you're listening to this right now, so you already have us on some platform. But we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. What else are we on, Maddie?
We're on Chromecast. We literally just discovered another one today that I forgot what it was. If you Google us, it
Just
pops
Google
up.
Us.
Yeah, you can Google us now.
I know.
Do it.
We're famous.
We're famous. Also, I'd like to thank everyone because we apparently have an estimated 12 listeners and 26 downloads. Yeah. I really didn't think we were gonna get listeners. I mean, I think I even said something like that in the first episode. So yeah. Oh, also, you know what? We should probably point out that we're recording this literally the day after our episodes on ones went up.
Yeah, happy Leap Day, y'all.
Yeah, so it's gonna be an entire month before we actually post this episode. Because this is gonna go up the last Friday, so some other stuff will probably have happened before then.
Right.
Yeah, just tweet at us.
We'll be active on social media, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
March is definitely a busy month. The spring in general is busy, so it's better to get things out of the way when we can. Yeah. Thank you for your understanding.
Mm-hmm. Caden's got his softball stuff, and I've got my birthday and boyfriend stuff. So, yeah.
Adulting.
I gotta look at apartments to move in with my partner, my two partner, which will come into play later in this episode. Now stay tuned. Some disclaimers. We are not safe for work. We cuss. We definitely discuss sex.
Unless your work is into that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of job you have.
If I were back washing dishes, I could definitely listen to this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah.
Maybe we're safe for your work, but maybe we're not. So to be safe, maybe don't.
Listen with headphones,
Yeah.
Do you? We're gay. Very gay. LGBT stuff will come up. Definitely gonna talk about it. It hasn't come up as much as I thought it would. I'm not gonna lie. And also, I probably shouldn't say that we're gay anymore, especially since you're straight now. But
it's
we're
one
queer.
Of the biggest regrets of my life is becoming straight. Every day, think about it just a little bit, tear up.
You could always say gay in the broader umbrella sense because as far as men go, who was it? You just haven't met Chris Hemsworth?
I just haven't met Chris Hemsworth yet.
There you go.
Chris Hemsworth hit me up.
Yeah, so you can use gay as the umbrella category for your little itty bitty bit of fineness.
We are in that way not professional.
Yeah,
about
very
everything.
Yeah. We also don't have any special training in this area. I eventually want I actually really do want to go and get like certified in this stuff.
Because
I
you're
think
a
it's
5.
cool.
You just want all
Yeah.
the info.
Well, that's true, but also like I was thinking today about like careers and stuff that will pay you to do like going into businesses and like doing personality tests and like team building stuff with them. And I was
Hmm.
like, I could get paid to discuss the Enneagram like every day and like just go in and analyze people and type them and like that'd be like hella fun.
You could just become a psychologist.
Yeah, but I'd have to go back to college for that.
It's
Whereas
true.
with this, I could just get my certification and use my current degree.
Sounds good.
Oh, okay.
Type
So,
2's
well,
question
first
for you.
question of the week. Are type 2s cats or dog people?
If you're
Also, once again, sorry to everyone who is probably going to send us stuff. I asked my partner and my roommate, who are both 2s, so I do have some info.
you're surrounded by them.
I am. But
Um,
yes.
I have one story about this.
Okay. Okay. Go.
Uh, I okay, so my partner's mom, I suspect, is a 2.
Mhm.
She's either a 2 or a 3, but she's got like that energy going on, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and they have a dog and a cat. And I think recently, like past few months, when I was around, there's discussion about wanting another pet. And then like going through the process of like trying to convince her husband to get a pet. So I have a feeling that 2s are down for anything, but what's more interesting about it is what will they do to get that cat or dog?
Oh.
You know, like
Okay.
that's the real meat of the question.
I
Cat or dog
pers
people, both, but how do they convince their partner?
I personally think that yeah, I think 2s in general are animal people. However, I think 2s lean towards dogs. Especially since so I asked my partner and I was like, so are 2s cat or dog people? And they said dog people, duh. Uh, like just dog people, duh. Like flat out, just no. And then I asked Natalie, my roommate, um, and her response was also dog people, duh, or something along those lines. Like not even, no thoughts, no hesitations. Hold on. my, so my roommate just yelled from the other room that it's a stupid question. Oh, it's not a question. Sorry, she said it's not a question. They're dog people. Um, and so it really became evident. I think honestly, I think 5s are cat people and 2s are dog people because when I adopted my cat Maleficent, um, she didn't come out from underneath my bed for a couple of days, and Natalie was like, "Why isn't she coming out?" And I was like, "She's scared. She'll come out. We just gotta leave her alone. She'll chill."
It's the patience.
Yeah. And Natalie was like, "No, I want love like right now. Gracie just wants all the love." And so I was like, "Yeah, this really." But yeah, so um,
I
I
will
think,
I will argue though that I think a 2 might actually get a kick out of that. You know, because it's sort of like why 2s like 5s sometimes. Like 5s
oh
like
yeah,
cats because they're cats,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And then 2s like dogs because they're dogs. But I actually think that 2s might find cats satisfying because
mm,
they're so hard to get to love you. So it's like extra, extra when you get that little like rush. Like,
oh okay.
yeah, you're snuggling me right now, cat.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely agree with that.
So I think it's
Uh,
both.
both. Animal people in general, especially since Natalie is uh like she's worked with like horses and all that kind of stuff. So, um
It's that unconditional love, man.
Yeah.
Animals you just feed animals and they're into you instantly. Why do they like babies too?
Natalie just yelled from the other room that she had cows too. She's just gonna keep chiming in. It's great. I love it so much. This is gonna be a fun episode.
Yes.
We need to, whenever we do the 7 episode, you need to do it in the same room with your girlfriend.
I will ask Alyssa to join us explicitly. She's very smart and has lots of things to share.
Yes.
She's also very articulate. Anyways.
Okay, so let's launch in. So, a recap of 2 basics. Their name is the helper or the befriender.
I have a special name. I think I stole it from the Enneagrams over at Enneagram for Idiots. Captain Friendzone.
Yeah, that was more towards like dudes though.
So that's that 2-wing one.
Yeah, the 2-wing one.
Captain Friendzone.
You should check out their episode on it.
Yes.
No, I remember now. It was in reference to the one dude off of Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know anything
about Friendzone.
Game of Thrones. But yeah, so their biggest fear is that they are unlovable. She just said, "Call me out." Basic desire is to be loved. But yeah. Also, okay, so when I was first discussing the Enneagram with KJ, I read that out. Like, I didn't even read out any more descriptions. I just read fear and desire, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's me." And I was like,
just like complete cringe.
Yeah, just complete cringe, completely. Yeah, that's me. And that's honestly the only types that I've ever like met that were like knew it just based off fear and desire have been the 2s. Yeah. But yeah. So their growth and stress points are they go to 8 in stress, 4 in growth. And then
so when 2s get stressed out, they go to anger and they get super aggressive, and that sort of externalized image issues goes to externalized anger.
And then they go to 4 in growth,
and their sort of image that they've built up around merging with other people. We can talk about this later because this is what I do too as a 9, but about becoming what they think other people want so that they'll be loved. They get to become their own individual and just sort of be.
So their intelligence center, they're part of the heart and shame intelligence center.
That's rough,
a whispered "oh fuck" from Natalie.
That's rough.
Yeah, it's
I feel very called out right now.
The biggest experience I have with 2s is my first ever game of Dungeons and Dragons. This is going to call me out as such a nerd, but I made a 2, and as a 9, what I do when I like roleplay characters is I get really into that headspace, and let me tell you, that 2 headspace is such a fucking trip. You are up in your feels all the time. It's so exhausting.
My partner has so many emotions.
So many emotions.
Fuck you.
All day.
Natalie just said, "Fuck you." I feel like most of her comments are gonna be just "fuck you."
I am so called out right now. So called out.
You know, and it's just like, it was really great for me to be able to experience that, being a person that is actively like, ooh, I'm having feelings right now, let's not.
I feel that.
Right?
So hard.
Like, it's kind of a little bit of a trip to be in there. But at the same time, it's intense.
I've gotten to the point with my emotions that I don't even realize when I'm having them sometimes. So like, I was with KJ at one point, and he was like, "You look sad," and I was like, "I do? Am I? I am?
Sad?
Oh my god!" And then I realized that I was sad because I was having to leave him the next day, like to go back home, and I was like, "Oh my god, I am sad right now." And for a second, was like, "Why did you tell me? I couldn't."
See, that's the hidden power of the twos, though, is you spend that long in your emotions and you become emotionally keyed into things.
I don't know if I wanna.
Right.
It's
But
a lot of work.
The double-edged sword of that, though, is that sometimes they can be emotionally keyed into other people, but not so much themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you like spend so much time trying to anticipate what other people need and to know that you have to know where they are. And so you're constantly sort of assessing, which, I mean, maybe assessing is too much of like a head center word, but you're like, you got a bead on the temperature of the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of know where people are at, so you can know what you have to give them for them to love you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You want to move on to passions and virtues?
Yes.
Okay, so the passions and virtues are one part of Ichazo's theory, and Ichazo was one of the founding members of what we view as the modern Enneagram.
He's the dude.
Yeah, he's the dude. And he said that there were certain things that are in our animal nature that keep us from being grounded in our centers. These passions are based around the 7 deadly sins, with fear and deceit being added in to reach 9 distinct numbers. Each type also has a virtue, and the virtues are interpreted different ways. Some see them as an antidote to your passion, and others view them as like your essence or tied to your being, especially if you're getting into more of like the Christian aspects of the Enneagram. These are the best traits that your type has, and the more you grow, the more you'll naturally start to embody them. The passions and virtues generally are viewed through a Christian lens, but we're not Christians, so we'll be giving our own hot takes on them, and I personally will be relying heavily on Huertz, which I did look it up. I looked it up this episode.
It's Huertz.
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 Huertz. His work, because he kind of didn't agree with them, especially he doesn't agree with them being sins or tragic character flaws, just things that we kind of rely on heavily.
We're all just people, man.
Mm-hmm. I have a quote from him too that I kind of like. He said, I understand the passions to be our ego's basic coping tool to reconnect with essence, the most rudimentary contrivance we instinctively appeal to in our unconscious attempt to find our way home. The passions could be viewed like a small keychain flashlight used while lost in the middle of a forest. Though it may seem helpful because of the brightness of a simple light in the darkness, it is still an entirely inadequate lifeline. So I really like that, because it's not as judgmental as some of the other ones sound. Like when you read some of them, it's like, this is what you do and you need to stop doing it because it's bad. And it's like, it's not necessarily bad. It's just, it's something you kind of grasp and just go back to. And it's something that you're never actually going to get rid of, ever, no matter how healthy you get.
You can't grow out of being a human. I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry to tell you folks. You're kind of stuck like this.
Yeah. Okay, so the passion of the two is pride, or as Huertz put it, false humility, because he didn't like it being placed as pride. And sometimes, honestly, when I was reading more about it, it was kind of hard to interpret. Like, I was like, okay, where are you getting pride out of this? But I did find some examples that was like, oh, okay, I can see how someone could think.
I get pride, because when twos go to 8, they're like assertive about their giving. They're like aggressively giving.
But yeah, so I'll explain a little bit more of Huertz's view on it. He kind of broke it down into three different sections mirroring the intelligence centers. So everyone has a carnal hunger with the body center, emotional ache with the heart center, and existential restlessness with the head center. And they all feed into each other, ending up in you getting your passion. And so they cause each other. So a quote from him is that so first of all, I'll say this first. So 2's carnal hunger is denial. Their emotional ache is presumption. And then their existential restlessness is self-abnegation or self-denial. So part of it comes from they start denying their own needs, and then they presume that others will be as attentive to their needs as they are to others. And so when other people aren't picking up on their clues and stuff like that, it can create it can make them sad, and that's why it's their emotional ache. And then it kind of it wraps up in them like slowly moving into self-abnegation and self-denial. So here's the quote. 2's denial of their own needs is held in their body as a way of diminishing wants or desires. Yet they can't help but crave for these denied desires to be met. This leads to passive-aggressive presumption. Presumption that others would mirror back to the 2 what they are offering of themselves is a common expression of the pain they feel. For instance, you could have expressed your gratitude more explicitly, or why didn't you think I would have liked to join you? Are emblematic ways 2's express their pain. Presuming is also commonly hidden in the assumption that if they did make their needs known, or even more difficult, if they actually asked that their needs be met, they would only experience rejection. The 2 presumes initiative from those whom they most desire to meet their needs, all the while convincing themselves that when their needs aren't met, they'll be fine. Self-abnegation is the mental diminishment of the inner repression of these desires, convincing 2's to give away more of themselves at their own expense. And since the 2's repressed center is in their mind, self-abnegation shapes the notion of pride more than the other two aspects. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They sound kind of like 9s, except their flavor of it is the presumption, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's where all the hurt comes in. Because they assume that other people are picking up the same things that they're picking up. And so they assume that when they're putting out a signal, that everyone's going to pick up that signal because it's a signal they would read. And so when people don't...
Listen, just because other people are emotionally incompetent doesn't mean that I am. Other people just need to be more emotionally competent.
Okay, that to me sounds like 7 and 5. Do you get that vibe too?
A little bit, yeah. But
like
see, the 5s... So the 5's flavor of it, though, because there's 5s are also part of, I forget which triad this is, but it's I think it's Hornevian withdrawal, or no, object relations. I can't remember, but it's a withdrawal form. And so 5s also repress their needs out of fear that they won't be met, and out of fear that if they express needs, that they'll be hurt because their needs won't be met. And yeah, it's a weird thing. We'll get into it with 5s. Yeah. But so there's stuff in here of the shoving down their own needs that's like, oh, I feel that a little bit, but your flavor's a little different than mine.
You know what? I bet. So, okay, when we talk about wings, I bet this is going to get super interesting because I can definitely see the one wing doubling down on the pride in the way of oh, I'm a good person because I'm denying my needs, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to the 3 wing doubling down on the like sort of like image building aspect of it, where if it's I'm a person who does this externally, that's what people see about me.
Oh, I had a story about Natalie that would put that up. Oh, I don't know if she's gonna like that, but it's fine. Because Natalie is a 2 wing 3. So yeah. I also, when I was researching, I found another interesting tie-in to flattery with the 2s and how they like
self-flattery.
Yeah. And I kind of want to read it. So pride or self-abnegation, which leads to a fixation on flattery. They give and give and give and deny their own needs in order to feed a lost sense of self-worth. They tend to have weak boundaries and confuse putting others first as love. They can become seductive, intrusive, and or passive-aggressive to win others, all an unspoken and often unconscious attempt to get their needs met. And so this is at like a lower level of help. The healthier you are, the less this is going to apply to you as a 2. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting about the confusion of putting others first as love.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that 2s really don't get is their own self-worth, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's sort of what we all struggle with a little bit, right? But 2s particularly, I think, like, when I sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to take care of myself, because I know that the people that love me want me to do well, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to make them happy to see me thrive. 2s don't, like, the way that works for a 2 is it's hard to compute that taking time for yourself is actually a way of showing love for other people too. That like when people love you, it hurts them to see you hurt. So hurting yourself isn't actually helping them. And I think that that's where 2s get themselves into trouble, is that they get a little bit confused about that.
Yeah. Tend to sacrifice too much.
Yeah.
And also, with that self-worth and like self-confidence, one thing I notice in a lot of 2s is, like you said, it kind of comes from what they do, and what they provide to their communities and to their partners and stuff like that, rather than an intrinsic, who they are. Because like, so like, Natalie's in the room right now.
Just do it.
So like, whenever I ask Natalie like something like, what's the best part of yourself or stuff like that, or like, what are you most confident about, it's like, I am a nurse. And like, that's great. And it's stuff that she gives and does and provides. But it's more like, I am a nurse, I do this. And rather than the afterthought is kind of, I am compassionate, I am kind, I'm giving. So the focus is more on what she does for her community, what she does for people, and less on her own like inner qualities that make her up.
Yeah, I think that the heart center,
love you,
that shame.
No, you're totally right. Man.
And we'll see this as we get into the 3s and the 4s. It's built on an identity crisis in a certain way. And I think the 4s sort of typify that, are typical of that. Words. Like when we get there, we'll see that the 4s exemplify that identity crisis, right? But what people don't realize, because the 2s are so externally focused, like I talked about how in the centers there's an internal, there's an external, and then your 3, 6, 9 are sort of a mix of each of those. The 2s are the external type, so they're looking outside for validation on their identity and who they are. But it's still fundamentally about the idea that like who you are as a person is in jeopardy in some way. Like that's what's being threatened and attacked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how this can like, so when I was reading through some of this stuff, I was like, I don't necessarily know how this relates to pride.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so I kind of looked up how it got tied to pride, because for me it seems like pride and self-abnegation are like two completely different things, you know? And so how it ends up looking like pride and how it becomes pride is in the lower levels of health. It becomes, I believe I know what's best for you, and I believe that I can save you, and I'm going to just go ahead and do that. Yes.
Yeah. And that's the sort of part of it is like, whether
mm-hmm.
you want to or not, I'm going to help you versus
mm-hmm.
do you need help?
mm-hmm. And there can also be pride in the struggle too. So like I've seen it sometimes with like when she looks at like where, like with Natalie, when she looks at where she is now, and she'll be like, I went through all of this and I like did all this for other people, and now I'm here, and like now I'm a nurse, and I went through all that as like a pride thing. And so they can kind of tie in almost like, I don't know, like,
well, I think the part about the pride that becomes problematic is that it's addictive because it feeds the ego, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with being proud of your accomplishments. I'm just going to say that flat out.
Oh yeah, 100%.
There's nothing wrong with saying I am a person that does this and I'm proud of that. The problem is when that becomes the sole way that you're identifying yourself, and you're not talking about sort of any intrinsic value that you bring to the table as a person, or when you romanticize your own pain, right? If you romanticize your own pain in a way that brings you closer to like bringing yourself down, you know, like you can get caught in a cycle of, look at me doing all of this stuff for other people, it's so hard, and then you want to like almost feed on how hard it is, and you just want to stay there. You don't want to make it better for yourself, you know? And
your identity can become kind of wrapped up in that too.
Right.
So like my mother was also a 2, and not always the healthiest 2. You know, pretty unhealthy TBH. And so there were times where it was like she would kind of embody the identity of like, quote, like a selfless mother. Look what I've given up for you. Look what I do. Like I drive you to football practice. Look at me. I don't have time for myself. That kind of like becomes an identity.
And then you burn yourself out doing all this stuff. And then also the pride aspect then is that you can get to the bottom, get to that end of your rope, and at the end of it, you will have been the one that brought yourself there, but you won't be able to see that because you've been so externally focused the whole time.
Yeah.
On the flip side, though, if you can take pride in what you do, if you can like actually embrace you like your contribution as a human and take care of yourself and nurture yourself, 2s then go to their virtue, right? And they go to humility, which is pretty much like the same as pride, which seems weird to put it like that, but it actually is, because it's just pride but having boundaries.
I do need others. I do have needs.
Yes.
And admitting that, and not even just admitting it, embracing the fact that you do have those needs, and letting people care for you.
Yeah. 2s, go take a spa day. Not because you've worked so hard, but just because you want a spa day.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just go. All right. So, blind spots. All right. So the blind spot for the two, or the primary blind spot, is their own needs. They tend to end up, when they are unhealthy, going into self-neglect. These are like, the more lower levels, the more like the worse it gets, obviously. But yeah, and so it's really funny because in order to like, because obviously they have the needs, right? And
Yep.
unconsciously they're still trying to go and get those needs met, even though they're trying to repress it and like, I don't have needs. And so what can end up happening is they can get manipulative, or like have hidden motives, and don't even realize that they're doing it. And so like, I'm trying to think of an example of like, I'm not sure, but I had a quote that went from one of our websites. I pulled it off of, and it says, "Let go of the control that comes with giving." And so there is a sense of control when you're meeting other people's needs. Oh, actually, you know what? I do have an example. So currently my sister is moving into a new apartment with her fiance. We're not going to get into that. Well, actually, we are going to get into it when we get into sixes. Save that for later. But my mom wanted to help out my sister get furniture and stuff like that. And so what ended up happening is, now my sister has a bunch of furniture that she doesn't, love because she didn't really get to pick it out, because my mom was kind of like, I'm doing this for you. I know what's best. I'm going to find this. She's gotten recently really into thrifting and like refurbishing furniture and stuff like that. And so at one point she bought like 3 used tables for Hannah, like off of Facebook Marketplace. So like nothing like expensive or anything like that. Just like, a $15 table here and there, and like worked sanding them and refinishing them and stuff like that. And my sister was like, thanks. And like, on the one hand, it's like, yes, she now has furniture that she wouldn't have had otherwise, But on the other hand, she kind of lost some of the control of like picking it out with her fiance, kind of building on that. And not only that, but so I helped my sister move into her apartment with my parents, right? Mm-hmm. And so now, and I don't know how my mother got this, but she thinks that I am hurt because she hasn't helped me with furniture, because I've lived in furnished apartments all of my life. And she's like, Madison is so upset. Madison she's angry because like I didn't do this for her. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I didn't, what? And she's like, don't worry, I'm going to help you too. And I'm like, oh no. Oh no. Thank you. But also like, I don't know. I need to make sure that there's some boundaries being,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I honestly have no idea how she got the idea that I was mad or upset. Because it's not, she did help me with my apartment. Like, she helped me with like dishes and getting like a knife set and stuff like that, She just hasn't helped me with furniture specifically because it's already there, it's furnished.
Right.
So let's move on to like another blind spot that they had that is interesting, because in my research, this was the first time that I'd seen this. I mean, I knew that they would do this, but I didn't know it was listed under like some of their blind spots. And that is dropping people very quickly once they no longer want that affection.
Mm.
And so here, twos may pay attention to people and then disengage quite quickly once they lose interest in them. Because unless it's like work based or something like that, if it's just their interpersonal life, most of the time they're paying so much attention to other people's needs in order to get that love in return. And so when there's nothing holding them there, they no longer want that affection. It's kind of like, okay, goodbye, done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, twos. What do you think about that?
Send us your thoughts, twos.
Mm-hmm. Please do.
Yeah. Tell us how you feel, how you really feel, and not just how you think we want you to feel, so that we like you. We already like you.
Mm-hmm. I love all my twos. All right, so some strengths. They're very good at like loving and supporting not just the people that they love, but like everyone within their community and giving that love. Natalie is honestly so much more forgiving than I am. Like, she's had some people.
5 grudge.
I do have that 5 grudge. But Natalie, like, she's had people do some like shitty things to her before, and I was like I don't remember what we were discussing the other day, but she was like, I hope he's happy, I hope he's moving on, I just don't want to be around him. And I was like, if that were me, I'd want him miserable and suffering. Like, I don't know, like, why are you not angry about that? She's like, no, I just kind of want him gone. But yeah, so there's, I don't know, a lot more forgiveness there, a more focus on people and being able to forgive their failings. We also have very innate abilities to recognize the needs of others and move to meet them, which is very interesting.
They've got gaydar for emotions.
Yes. Like I mean, like I was telling you before, KJ was like, "You look sad," and I was like, "Oh, I am." But yeah, they really do. It also amazes me sometimes because I don't know. As a 5, I can logically plan out like emotions. You know what I mean? I would be like, I'm pretty sure someone would be feeling this because X, Y, and Z has happened, and usually when X, Y, and Z has happened to people, they feel this way. However, theirs is more like intuitive. I don't know. But yeah. So persistence and dedication to the task at hand. Yeah, when it's something someone needs and stuff, they're gonna get it. They're gonna get it done. Especially if they have a 1 wing, like that. 1, get it done right, you know?
Yeah.
And also like their other wing is a 3, which is
3s
they're
also
really
do things.
They're just they just do. So they're smack dab in between those two, and it really just drives them forward, and they're driven by wanting to help others. And so if you have a need, 2s are going to help you meet that need, and they're going to do what it takes to help you meet that need.
I bet that 2s make great consultants. Like whenever you have to talk to someone about something that you want or need. Like, so you bring a consultant in.
You know what I feel like they might be very bad at? and not for the reason people might think, but I think they would be bad
IRS.
therapists. I think they'd be bad therapists and psychologists, not because they can't relate emotionally or stuff like that,
Oh, but
but because they would relate, yes, and they wouldn't be able to separate themselves, and they would just carry that home. Like, there are times when Natalie comes home and she's just carrying what she has seen in the hospital.
That would just destroy your life.
Yeah. And so, specifically being in, like, the mental health field, where you're gonna hear about people on, like, their worst days and hear about, like, tragic shit all the time, you know? And hear about, like, the worst events of people's lives.
Or having to be a reporter that dealt with all of that stuff, or some sort of, like, oral history stuff.
I don't know. Twos, chime in. Do you think that would be a bad job for you? Or do you have
twos?
Do you have that job?
Are you all nurses? Is that the only job that twos have?
KJ's interested in air traffic controlling. That's what he went to college for. That's what he's applied to most recently. But yeah.
So we've got 2 careers available for you now.
But yeah. All right. So, is there anything else you want to add before we get into our fun stuff
let's
section?
Just dive into the fun things.
Yes. Okay. So, continuing off of our episode last time, we have a fun stuff section that we're going to get into. And the first one is
sex.
Sex positions based off of your type. We were reading an article called Your Favorite Sex Move Based on Your Enneagram Type from Elite Daily, and that'll also be linked in our show notes. And so what they said is that the favorite sex position or move for the type 2 is edge of the bed head. Personally, I think that they should just change it to oral in general. But yeah, I'm just I'll read their.
I will say though, the idea that there is a height differential involved, probably twos are into it.
I could see that
the power dynamic of that. Twos, come on, you're a 2, and you're all about like the control of giving to people sometimes, but then also you go to 8 sometimes, and like you also want to be a giver. Like there's got to be some weird power shit going on there, right?
Talking with Natalie earlier, a little bit, yes. But yeah, so the helper is the most caring and giving of the 9 types. Their slogan is, I try to be loved by loving others. They enjoy giving and receiving in the bedroom. They enjoy giving and receiving. In the bedroom, they feel this tenfold. Type 2 would likely excel at some super hot pleasure play, where one partner is designated the sole receiver of oral sex, or whatever they enjoy most. And I definitely agree with this in general, especially since it's not denoted to like in this, the 2 can be the receiver or the giver.
I feel like they might enjoy switching up every once in a while, you know?
I 100% think they enjoy switching up. Just because, actually, okay, I think there are 2 things that go into play here. But I think it goes away a little bit in bed. So I was reading this one tweet, and it's the Enneadog, an Enneagram account where they take dog memes and put them on, like, with the Enneagram. Highly recommend it. It's so funny and so uplifting every day. And there was this one, and it was like a dog getting a bath and just kind of like relaxing. And it's like when a 2 can finally just let themselves be loved without feeling like guilt or something like that. And a 2 in the comments was like, that can happen? Like you can just receive without feeling guilt? And they were like, yeah, most people can.
Yep.
And so I think in the bedroom it can go away a little bit, that receiving without feeling guilt. But I think it still might be there a little bit. But also, I think it can probably, I think it's one of the places where that's the least noticeable. Especially like, I know that, okay, how much can I say of this? We'll just say it. Natalie specifically is very pleased and expresses in her relationship when someone like takes care of her like that and like puts her needs up, and it's one of her, like, it's kind of one of the things that she how do I put it, like when she has a partner that takes care of her needs like that, it's one of the first things that she's like, yeah, I really like this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a little
Just,
rambling.
You know.
Uh-huh.
Just want to be loved, man.
Want to be loved. Trying to think.
Do your dog thing, because I've got a really good meme, and I want to get to that.
Okay. So, I have made a list, and I shared it with Caden previously, but it's what breed of dog each type is. And so for type 2, I think type 2s are pit bulls. Reason being is type 2, like pit bulls are the nanny dog, you know? Like they're so loving. So I know that they have like a reputation of being like mean and aggressive and stuff like that, but they're no more aggressive than any other dog when compared side by side. So when you have
going to 8.
But yeah, so when you have like a dog that's been raised in a good, loving environment, the pit bull is the nanny dog. They're very loving, extremely giving and protective. And my neighbors had like pit bulls growing up, and like especially there was this one they had, Ladybug, and she was a pit bull lab mix, and that dog would follow us around, watch after us. We could climb all over that dog. Like, oh, I miss Ladybug so much. One time their cat had kittens, and like Ladybug would curl up with the kittens, and the kittens would just crawl all over her, and it was like the sweetest thing, and it just reminds me of twos when I think about it. But yeah, pit bulls, very loving. Also, I'm just gonna use this moment. So KJ, when we move in together, definitely want a pit bull, because I know you've mentioned that you want dogs. So. What was that sigh for?
I don't know. I just realized that I was supposed to have thought of the question of the week. And I haven't. I'll think about it.
Okay.
Let's do memes first. Okay. You know what I got?
What?
I am once again asking for quote unquote nothing. Bernie Sanders, what do you think?
Yeah, 100%.
The quotes are important, though.
Yes. So I have two. First one is Courage the Cowardly Dog. The things I do for love. Because that's just a 2. I mean, that's just, they do everything for love. And I love that about them. And another one is also from Enneagram, that Twitter account. And so it's this dog getting a belly rub, and like with its back paw, it's like rubbing / scratching its human's back, and it's like a 2 like giving while receiving or something like that.
The
And
ideal.
I saw it and I immediately thought of my partner's birthday, because for his birthday I like wanted to give him a massage, right? So I was massaging him and I'd work my way like all the way down to his back, and I kind of like when I got to his feet I kind of like stretched out, because like I'd been kind of like up on my knees, and so I wanted to like stretch out my legs a little bit. And so I ended up, my feet were kind of close to his head. And so while I was rubbing his feet, he starts rubbing my feet too. And I was like, yeah, I know. I was like, this is your birthday massage. Like, what are you doing? So, but I let him keep rubbing my feet because it felt really good though. So.
There you go. He got you.
He got me. But yeah, so it just made me think of my partner. Yeah. That's all I got for our memes. Ready to wrap up?
Ready to wrap up, except I need a question to ask the audience about threes. Threes scare me. I'm just going to put that out there before we go into the next episode. I'm supposed to integrate to them, and I don't.
Oh, how about
like
this?
it.
How about what does it look like when you disintegrate to 9 threes?
Oh yeah, I have theories because I live there, but yeah.
You live at
threes,
6. Let's be real.
It bounces. I've kind of currently, because I spend so much time with my 7 partner, have merged into 7 land, and I live there a little bit. What 9s do is that we like couch surf, and all the different Enneagram numbers. Just whoever we're hanging out with a lot at that particular moment, we then just like live on their couch.
Do you feel 5-ish whenever we hang out?
No, but I'm like inoculated because my dad's a 5.
Oh, okay. Did you feel 5-ish when you were younger, like with him?
No, the only time I really feel 5-ish is when we start talking stats together, like statistics in baseball, softball. We talk about, we have these little like, so he does computer programming, classic 5. He was a math major in college, all this stuff. So he's very smart guy, has a very like logical way of thinking. Really likes going through I'm on my college's softball team. Really likes going through all of our stats, and since it's softball and like baseball is a lot of stat numbers, he like will make these really involved spreadsheets for all of it, and we'll calculate out all the numbers, and then we'll write up a report, on how we're doing, and send it to my coach. And every time before a game, he will research the team we're playing, write up a report on that team, and then send it to my coach and CC me. And it's like all professionally done and like this nice font. It's got like subheaders in it and little tables and graphs.
How does your coach feel about this?
She fucking loves it. She wants him to start his own like podcast or like news column or something. It's really great. I mean, because like so much of the coach's jobs is gathering data to figure out how the fuck you're trying to like strategize to win this stuff, right? Helps a lot when you have someone who just in their free time is like, you know what I'm gonna do? Go put together a report on this team you're about to play. That's a digression. Threes, what is it like to come visit me over at nine house on my couch surfing?
All right. So email us or tweet us your answers.
Speculations.
Oh yeah, or speculations.
Yes.
Or just honestly, answer any of our questions or any comments on this episode. Please, we want to hear.
We love talking about ourselves in case this hour-long episode hadn't cued you in.
Yes. Oh, also, please send us your dog photos, too. Please do send us your dog photos.
I want to see photos.
Actually, I'll take pets in general.
Ooh, anyone have like a parakeet? No? No birds?
Okay. Email us at anythinggoes@gmail.com and tweet at us at anythinggoes. Leave us a review on our podcast. You can review us on Apple Podcasts now. Please do that. We're still
riding high, 5 stars.
Yes. However, we are not recording this in March yet. So, by the time you hear, by the time you hear this, it might be different. But yeah, leave us a review. Only if it's good though.
Send us your memes. Your dog photos.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you all.